Goodness
I'll call the
gracious.
December 12th, 2024 City Commission meeting to order at 4 p.m. with all 5 commissioners present. First item on the agenda, minutes. Any considerations?
I read all of those minutes in
Good job.
detail, and there is not a mistake.
You're going to.
It looks great.
We're going to begin asking for quotes from you there.
Right, verify.
Thank you. Citizen comments. We have all kinds of citizens. Consent agenda, we have 4 items, A, B, C, and D. Any comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items A through D.
Second. Go ahead.
Been moved by
Fourth.
Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Cunningham. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Number 5, Hayes Recreation Commission pool reimbursement request.
Good evening, Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. And last week we had our joint meeting. Most of you were here. So one of the items that we discussed and kind of a standard deal is talk about at the second meeting was the Hayes Recreation reimbursement request. So that is what I'm here for, and just kind of a little background history. Hayes Rec has managed both pools since they opened, we had the current contract. The way the current contract reads is there's a stop loss of $40,000 on their side. So whatever their loss is for the year, the city pays 50% of that, and up to $40,000, which is the Hayes Rec stop loss. So we talked about this last week. Attendance was definitely up this year at the aquatic park, which is a good sign. We like that. It was, however, down a little bit at Wilson Pool. This shows Wilson and the aquatic park for 2024, actually for the last 24 years. So as you can see, Wilson Pool was down. Hayes Aquatic Park was up slightly.
Jeff, before you move on, I think it's, right there. I mean, that's still the best attendance we've had in 5 years.
Yeah,
mean,
it's nice to see.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Considering, we've changed pricing and stuff like that. I think
We had a lot of questionable days last year on temperature starting off the season. So, yeah, I mean, it was nice to see that turn out that way.
makes you feel like maybe all of us are doing something right for once.
I agree.
And was Wilson closed a few days due to the road construction?
No, it was not.
It was not. Okay.
However, it was difficult parking. Folks
couldn't
had to
help.
walk a little
Okay.
bit further, but
Yeah.
it was open. So
Thought about that.
you see, I could have added to it. Some, they may have said, "No, I don't want to deal with that today,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
went on. So, financial consideration. Again, I mentioned that there is a stop loss of $40,000. So, the amount that was lost was $50,895.44. So, we would pay half of that, which is $25,447.72. And then we talked a little bit last week also about the city's other expenses. So we do have a general fund pool budget that covers all the chemicals, electrical needs, any repairs that go on down there. We do a lot of preventive maintenance down there. So there's a lot of things going on that the city's doing from a maintenance standpoint that's not really part of this Hayes Rec reimbursement request. This kind of shows what for 2024 the revenue was $277, expenses $328, difference of $50,895. So that shows the breakdown there, 50-50 split. Financial history, we went through this last week also. Basically, this is the revenue that we just talked about. These were the expenses. That's a difference of a loss of $50,895. So the Hayes Rec portion of that is half. The city's portion is half. If you take what the city's general fund budget is, plus what we need to pay Hayes Rec, the total loss to the city for the year is $178. That shows a little history there back to 2012.
$28,000 less.
Options, approve the request from Hayes Rec, provide further guidance to staff. And this is the action that staff recommends for this item.
Make a motion, we approve the 2024 pool reimbursement request from the Hayes Recreation Commission for an amount of $25,447.72 with funding from the 2024 general fund pool budget.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Musil, seconded by, we're all pointing different directions. Commissioner Reuter. Any further discussion?
I just want to, it's not today's, but, with the meeting last week, we had talked to him about getting us a top 5 list. I know Roger's working on that, and Commissioner Cunningham had said, they give us a top 5 list, put a price to that. And so I know Roger said he'd be working on it, and it's just something for us to discuss, maybe something to look, we can be looking forward as we do budgets next few years. And I thought it was a very productive meeting, and it shows we, not only the pool, but we had a lot of good things going on at the complex last year, and got a lot of good things going on with not only your group, but the Hayes Rec, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have started working on those, so
Appreciate that.
this is information to you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I would add, we have, Jeff and I have a meeting with Roger set up early next month to talk about a joint strategic visioning session with the Hayes Rec and the City Commission.
I like that. That Hayes Rec with everything that they do with not only the pool, but the ball fields, and not necessarily just sports, because they have other activities, but they bring a lot of people to this town, and they fill our hotels, which is what we want. So I think I would like to see, maybe time after I'm off here, but maybe every 5 years is something that we do a joint, or maybe less, I don't know, and I think we could accomplish some really positive outcomes.
And I think just as a quick comment that's a little bit neither here nor there, but when you talk about, the expenses that the city has for the pool, I get that we can talk about, the loss of $50,000 that we're splitting. But then when you go over to talk about the expenses of the city and you add the $25,000 to it, then you say, well, the loss to the city is this. Well, that's not a loss to the city. That's the expense the city has that we always are going to have. The loss part is literally just out of the $300,000 that we're on, that we only made $277,000 back. So it's not like we really lost $150,000. That's just a city expense to be able to maintain that part of the.
The positive was it was $26,000 less this year than it was last year.
Exactly. So I guess that I just the way we look at it, it makes it sound like we lost $170,000 on the pool. We didn't. And so it's
Just
been-
terminology.
it's just terminology. So it's not a huge thing, but I like, the way to look at it is what's the expense that we've got to maintain things.
The interesting way to look at it is it is a cost to the city. We have lots of costs that we don't quantify.
Right.
I mean, it costs us to operate Massey Park and Abel-Bickle Park and all the ball fields, and we just don't quantify because we don't generate revenues.
Right.
Unfortunately, this golf courses, since they do generate revenues, there's typically a profit loss analysis ran with it, and then you figure out what the cost was. But all quality of life amenities cost.
Yep.
And if you looked back at the chart Jeff showed, not only less this year, but it had been trending up the last 3 and then took a nice drop. So again, we're doing something right. So
Jeff, is there a plan next year for the 25th anniversary of the pool opening?
Not yet. I haven't even talked to Roger about that. We'll have to discuss it, but I think we could do something nice down there.
Awesome.
But no, we haven't talked about anything yet.
I think this is a perfect example of things that I talk about a lot, and that's collaboration and working together on projects that we do. Cooperation between the City of Hayes and the Rec Commission is outstanding, and the benefactor of that is every citizen in this community. I think it was my first year that on the commission that we talked about the loss of the pool. When I consider $178,000, I think of quality of life issues in this community and how often we're having conversations about what a great community is. That's why things like that cost at the city, and they're worth every dollar. Quality of life is as important as anything else that we judge our economic impact on. So I think it's outstanding, and I want to thank them again. I thanked them last week, but I want to thank them again for really a job well done. And Jeff, thank you for the cooperation and the collaboration on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass 5-0. East Multi-Use Connector Path, award a bid.
Again, it's Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks, and I am here to visit with you about the East Connector Paths. So what we're talking about here is the red lines at the top and the light yellow line down towards the bottom. Those are the two paths that we took bids on. These paths basically will connect all the other multi-use paths that we currently have in place or are working on. So if we can get these two accomplished, we'll have 5 miles of uninterrupted multi-use paths, which, you know, is something we've been working on since the early 2000s when we did our it was called a hike and bike trail study. But this is a significant part of the northeast and east side multi-use paths. We also talked about the fact that the Grove is putting in multi-use paths through their facility or through that area, and so everything's in place to make this happen and make a really nice path for everybody to use.
Hey, Jeff, and I know they probably have told us, so with the Grove, I mean, that's an ongoing development. Will that be done at the end when the development's done, or will that be one of the first things they do? Or do you know?
I am not sure on
Okay,
that.
that's fine.
I'll check into it and find out.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
All right, thank you.
So this is kind of a higher view of it. So again, over on the right-hand side of the screen is the red trail, and then below it's the yellow. The purple that was drawn in is kind of generally where the Grove Trail would be. So as you can see from the very bottom right-hand side of your screen, where Hayes Rec's at, that trail would go all the way up through Hayes Medical Center to the Sternberg Museum, from the Sternberg all the way to 41st and Hall. That's significant. Without those two paths in there, you know, you basically have separate trails with limited travel. So again, this is a very important part of that whole trail system. A little bit of background. 2021 is when we installed the path from Hayes Rec up to the Hayes Medical Center, make that connection. Currently working on the design that goes from 41st and Hall all the way over to the Sternberg Museum. That's a huge, significant multi-use path, so really looking forward to get that one going. And then obviously I mentioned the Grove, so that'll also be part of it. So again, I'm just trying to show you the significance of having that connectivity between all those different multi-use paths. Bids were solicited. These were the 4 bidders that we received bids from. T&T Builders was a low bidder, $31,616.20. As mentioned in their packet, T&T has done a wonderful job for the city on various projects, so I have no qualms in them doing this work. Financial consideration. This path will be funded by general obligation bonds with debt service provided by the Grove RHID. It was established last year in 2024, September. That would be the funding mechanism to pay for them. These are your options. Approve both Section A and B, or do not approve low bid, provide us with further directions on how you want to proceed. And this is the action requested.
Move to approve Section A and Section B bids from the low bidder T&T Builders for an amount of $231,616.20 to be funded by general obligation bonds with debt services provided by the previously established Grove RHID.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Cunningham. Further discussion?
So when will this project get started? This is just the design part.
Spring 2025, and I think it's the end of the year. They have till the end of the year to get it completed.
When is the one by Sternberg starting?
June or July?
Goes out to bid late summer of next year with construction, spring 2020.
Okay.
That's a KDOT funded project, so it's
Right.
taking a lot longer than what our projects take.
Okay.
I noticed that a lot of the parts that sort of go down past the Sternberg and then down Canterbury and across is by a whole lot of parking lots from a whole bunch of different places. Do we have that path sort of finalized, and whether we're moving sidewalks, replacing sidewalks? Because that's 10 foot and sidewalks aren't 10 feet. So it's going to move in to to the street, or
Are you referring to the area, especially
In the
along,
red.
North of 27th?
north of 27th?
Yeah, that path will be widened. That existing sidewalks will be taken completely out, and it'll be widened to 10 feet.
Okay.
The entire length of that, where there any crossing like that.
'Cause I know there's like, one of the buildings has like their stone sign.
There is a little bit of work on some of that stuff that'll have to be moved. Yes, there is some of that work, but that's included in the bid.
Okay. Great.
Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass 5-0. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the demolition of obsolete structures, the awarded bid.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. One bid for the demolition of obsolete structures was for the water reclamation and reuse facility was opened on November 5th of this year. The low bid of $191,550 came from M&D of Hayes, with the cost to be funded from our projects line item on that operating budget for water reclamation and reuse. The water reclamation and reuse facility, if you don't know where it's at, it is located at the Red Star in the southeast portion of Hayes on the map. Since 2019, remnants of the old wastewater treatment plant have been abandoned and not in use. The structures remaining and not in use include final clarifier, primary clarifier, old primary clarifier number 2. These are all significant concrete structures that are taking up space, and 2 of the 3 should be removed. Staff has chosen to keep 1 clarifier, but the metal components removed. And this is a larger clarifier structure that is shaded in green in the top left portion of your visual, and I will talk about that structure here shortly. This is old final clarifier number 2. It is located near the newer lab and admin facility. If you've been out to our building, it's 45 foot in diameter. The entire structure will go away, metal hauled off, and the concrete base punctured to comply with KDHE requirements. I say go away, but contents will be buried in that structure. When I talk about the next structure, contents from this next structure will actually be placed into this structure. Everything will be covered in dirt, brought to grade, and it will be seeded, so it will look like nothing existed. This part of this project is around $50,500 for this clarifier. This is old primary clarifier number 1. This is looking down from the top as well. It's 45 foot in diameter. The structure is elevated above grade and stands about 12 foot tall. The entire structure will be demolished, metal hauled off. The contents of the base, it will be punctured to comply with those KDHE requirements. Since this structure is elevated, the concrete will be removed and placed in that previous clarifier that I just talked about. Dirt will cover this entire structure and be brought to grade. It will also be seeded, and it'll look like nothing ever existed there. This one's a little bit more significant because it is a lot of concrete that's above grade, and it's pretty thick concrete, so this one's around $122,000 part of this project. Here are some photos of this clarifier from the previous slide. It basically shows that the structure is around 12 foot tall. I mentioned last week that the ladder assembly there is about a foot per rung, and there are some other things. There's metal on the top, and there's some piping in there that needs to be removed. So it is a pretty significant part of this removal. This is old primary clarifier number 2. It's 75 foot in diameter. All the metal and contents will be hauled off out of this clarifier. Staff has chosen to keep this clarifier but have everything removed and cleaned out. It won't be punctured because we will want to use this in the future. This structure is being kept due to its proximity to our new headworks facility, also our influent pump station. This would allow us to redirect wastewater into this clarifier if that wastewater is found to be contaminated and it needed to be separated temporarily to save the biological integrity of the treatment process. We are very cautious about what we want coming through that plant because we don't want those bugs to be affected and then affect the rest of the treatment. So this allows us to have a place to temporarily hold that sewage.
Jeff, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
So you're going to clean it out, but hopefully we never have to use it. But if we do, say 5 years down the road, something happens, are you going to have to clean it out again if it's just sitting there collecting dirt and
So
stuff?
basically, if you see what's in the bottom of that, and there is some growth there, we
Right.
could clean that out. We could clean it out even more. Once it's dry, we can haul that off to like the landfill. And continue to haul that out, but gives it time to dry and settle and those things. I hope that answered your
Yeah,
question.
I'm just saying, so if it was an emergency, how fast could you be using that?
Immediately.
You could.
No, I think you understood the question. What Sean's saying is, it's not going to look like that
Right.
again in
No.
5 years.
No.
It'll look like bare concrete.
Yes.
In 5 years, be ready for anything that needs to get dumped in.
But I'm just saying, stuff's gonna fly in there, dirt and
Right.
stuff.
Staff will keep it clean. We will work to keep it clean. As if there was something that was put in there that was temporarily settled out, it's just kind of like our drying beds.
Yes.
They use a tractor. I mean, we can't get a tractor down in
Right.
there, but we could use our vac truck in order to remove stuff out of it, but we will keep it
So
clean.
it's something you could easily use when you have to, if it would ever.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
its proximity to those two facilities is very important.
Thank you.
Any other questions so far? This part of the project is $19,000 to haul that all out, clean it out. Just a little bit of background. We had our project out there from 2017 to 2019. The guaranteed maximum price for that project was at $28.4 million. There were various structures in our plant that were abandoned during the project and not removed. And we're taking advantage of cost savings by not doing it as part of that project. Additional structures do exist that are subject to demolition in the future as our budget allows. For this particular project, just a little bit of background, we released the RFP on October the 11th. We had a pre-proposal meeting on October the 22nd. There was actually two folks that showed up, two companies that showed up that were interested. We opened a bid on November 5th. That was from M&D of Hayes of $191,550. The valid low bid of $191,550 that they submitted is below our budget of $200,000. They did, in the bid documents, it talks about mobilization for each structure, and mobilization would be removed if all three structures are done at the same time. So we will see a little bit of savings on mobilization. If awarded, they plan to get started January 6th, so right after the first of the year, and be complete by April the 11th of 2025. For financial consideration, it's in our 2024 budget, as I mentioned, for $200,000. It'll be funded from our projects line item in that budget. So today you have a couple options. You could award the bid of M&D of Hayes. You could provide us alternate direction if you choose. And this is the action I would request. I'd stand for any questions.
I move to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with M&D of Hayes, Kansas, in the amount of $191,550 for demolition of obsolete structures to be funded from the projects line in the water reclamation and reuse operation budget.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Barrick, seconded by Commissioner Reuter. Any additional discussion or questions?
Jeff, how many more structures in the future do you plan on removing?
If I may go back to the visual.
Yes, please.
The old Headworks facility is right here. That we would like to, in the future, possibly remove that. This is the old lab admin facility. It's a pretty good structure. We're not certain about the need to move that at this point. Old digesters, those are pretty tall. They are located right here. Those are the structures that in the future I could see us making a decision to remove for the future.
And Mr. Unruh approves of that?
Yes. And if I may, I was going to do this right at the end. Clayton Unruh, he became our interim supervisor at our water reclamation and reuse facility at the end of October, so October 27th. He's been interim now for a month and a half now, and doing excellent. He's a familiar face out there. He's been there for many years, but I just wanted to make sure to recognize him since he's here with me today. He wasn't able to make it last week, so.
Congrats.
If you have any other questions, he'd love to come up and answer.
We may do that to him sometime.
So I just, you didn't like my sturgeon or paddlefish, fishery in one of those last time, but, I thought the 12-foot one would really be cool to make it into like for archaeological purposes, a nice time capsule where we could put things like our city commission, picture,
Oh, I
and then
thought-
maybe like the cardboard compactor thing that's obsolete that we had to get rid of.
How did I know?
And then bury it,
How did I know
We could
he
have a
wasn't
really
done?
cool archaeological time capsule that we could make out of these things.
I knew he wasn't done.
It would definitely be cool.
Any
Just
other
getting ready to
comments?
take out the long slide in Rupp Park, you could put that in there too.
Yeah, get the yellow one.
Don't feed him for
The
heaven's
long
Jeff,
slide.
I just have one question for you. I think you touched on it last week, but what would be the negative or the con if we did not remove them?
Old structures eventually, if you're not going to use them, are going to need to be removed. It can also become a safety issue. You start having concrete falling. We're going to have to deal with it someday, and we budgeted for it, so we would like to get those removed, and then to have that space open for in the future if we needed to expand. We'll have room and we'll have footprint to expand from a safety perspective.
Yeah, thank you.
They do last for a long time. In fact, so where Parks Department's at was the original wastewater facility. And Jeff, when was it we took out that digester? Wasn't that only about 10 years ago?
2010-ish.
Yeah.
Really?
We took out when the maintenance facility was built, right?
Oh,
There was
yeah.
still an old digester, and that thing was decommissioned in the 60s.
Wow.
And there was still an old digester we had to have removed out there.
We cut holes in the side and we drive vehicles down into it and store stuff down there.
I don't doubt you at all. I just don't want to
Thank
hear
you for
it.
conserving our money there. I appreciate that. That's all.
If there's no further discussion or questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed 5-0. Thank you, Jeff. Engineering services on the city-owned property at exit 161, award of bid.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tom Howie, Project Manager, discussing award of bid for engineering services, city-owned property at exit 161. This is the project, or this is the property in the dark pink. I did include from last week, I did not have these in here. This was is the master plan for the project. We would be focusing initially on this upper corner up in here. So it's to get utilities across I-70 to the project, but also to get them up into that top corner. This is a visual of that upper section and what we envision. This is a staff drawing of the utilities, water and sewer in the blue and red. We kind of chose this path to get them to the upper corner, but also service those lots on their way
On
up.
the way. Yeah.
It's just good use of money. There's no need to come up and then have to go all the way back down again. A little bit background, city purchased the property in 2019. We believe that to adequately market the property is necessary to hire an engineer to design the water, sewer, and streets. In October of 24, the design RFP was released with 4 bids received. Bids were solicited. You can see Caw Valley was low. We did discuss last week, I vetted Caw Valley because of the difference in pricing. I met with them and went over everything. They were very confident in being able to accomplish everything we wanted to achieve. They just really wanted to do the project. That's what you're seeing is the difference in that. Financial considerations, this project was listed in the 2025 budget on the CIP. Funding for these will be paid from commission reserves. Options are to award the low bid to Caw Valley Engineering, reject all bids, or provide alternate direction to city staff. And this is my recommendation.
I move to authorize the city manager to enter a contract with Caw Valley Engineering in the amount of $118,750 to be funded from commission reserves for engineering services for the design of infrastructure improvements to a city-owned 90-acre greenfield site adjacent to exit 161.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Cunningham. Any other discussion or questions?
I should also add, I forgot to mention, if I may, obviously the priority is to get the water and sewer across, so we are going to do the internal developments to the site in that upper corner that we showed as an alternate in the bid. So we do not have to accept that, but we feel that we will have the funding to be able to do that, or we hope to be able to.
Anything else?
I just want to reiterate, like last week, we're serious about growing this community, this group of commissioners. There was in early, I guess, mid-'90s when I moved here, there was nothing north of I-70, and look what we have out there now. And it's going to take time. It's going to happen. But if we don't do something, it's not going to happen. And eventually we will have many exits with hopefully more retail, because we have to have retail with all the growth with new streets and stuff. If we don't grow retail, it's just not sustainable, and we got to make it that way, and we will. Sandy, close your ears, but I was reading some comments this week and said that this current commission does not want to grow Hayes, and we should throw them all the bums out. So they're wrong, and we are trying really hard. It just takes time, and I'm very proud that what we're doing with this. And it will take time, but this will be a good thing for us.
I agree. I think this kind of project is exactly what we're looking for in not even just growth for the community, but giving the community a say in what is going to be happening. Because usually it's behind the scenes, developer to developer, and now it's the community saying, "Hey, we want to be proactive and allow more opportunities to get here because we're not hindering maybe smaller developers from having to develop infrastructure because we're being proactive in doing it, and we do it right because our staff does it right." So that'll be extremely wonderful to see that happen and not attract just housing or retail. I mean, it could attract a lot of different industry in that area. It's a blank canvas that the master plan has laid out. Anything that we would like it to do. So it's exciting.
Well, I think it is proactive to bring those utilities to that property. I think it shows that our intent, and it'll never be more cost effective than now.
Yep.
Everything they said and more. I think the biggest thing that you constantly hear from me is we're looking at what we need to do tomorrow, but we're keeping in touch with what we need to be doing for 10, 15, and 25 years from now. And I think the development of this area, this is going to be the next new entrance into Hayes. I've talked about it over the years that you drive down 135 past Salina and you have 4 exits to get into that community. If we could get 3, I think it'd be really exciting for us, and especially as we consider what's going to happen with the roads on that particular Commerce Parkway and 41st out there. We've had good conversations with the county, and that's another plug for what kind of good things are happening with this city commission and the county commission. So we're really happy about it. Thank you, Tom. If there's no other comments, I'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed 5-0. Thank you, sir. Commissioners.
I got nothing this week.
Commissioner Barry. I know, just let it set, please. Move along.
Wow. I'm at such a loss. I just
Thanks. Smart ass.
no time to think, man. But no, I just one of the things that we talk about all the things going on in the community. Last weekend was crazy. Like the number of things that were going on, you literally couldn't do
Everything.
half of them
Yeah.
because there was so much overlapping. So it's fun to see, and it's a fun time. It's a fun time to be here. It's a cool season, not a cold season. It's a cool season. So anyway, that's all I've got. I'm at a loss, so I'm just going to go straight to Commissioner Cunningham.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Well, speaking of last weekend, for anybody who made it downtown on Sunday, the Frost Fest parade had the most perfect weather I think I've ever experienced in my time of living here. The weather was ideal. It was a great turnout, lots of foot traffic downtown. The parade went very well. I will say the other thing, the first time I've ever seen is a actual train had to go through the parade. I've never seen that before, but
It's happened
And right
before.
before Santa.
I know it was like a grand entrance for Santa to the other end of the block. So, and then congratulations to the Hayes High Lady Indians for winning the Hayes City Shootout. I think first time since 2002, if I recall correctly. So yeah, congratulations to them. That was a big win, and it's gonna be an exciting season for all of them. So that's all I got.
Good. Commissioner Reuter.
First, I wanted to thank Jeff and his staff for taking care of that, the line issue, the transmission line, is that what it was? Just south of town. You acted quick, communicated to the public really effectively, and the public themselves for conserving water in that time to make sure that things were taken care of quickly and appropriately. So that was taken care of really, really well. So I appreciate what you guys did for that. And I think it was on the same day there was a break on 17th and Oak too. So I mean, it was just it always comes at the same time, right? At least you were mobilized, ready to go. But no, so thank you guys for doing that. And other things I have is just enjoy this wonderful weather we're having.
Very nice. I'll comment on last weekend. One thing that I attended and I loved being there was the symphony. It was absolutely a wonderful holiday concert. But more than that, you cannot believe how many people were here from out of town. People that I didn't know and I'd stop and visit with out in the lobby, and everybody loved the symphony, but more than that, they loved being in Hayes for the day. So I thought that was a nice end to Saturday. Also, I missed doing something in the consent agenda that I normally do. I wanted to thank, we have committee applications. The city has a lot of different committees that the public serves on and citizens enjoy serving on. And the two that we looked at this week were Amy Schaefer and Cindy Elliott serving on the Care Council. You've heard me say before how much work that Care Council is and what great job they do in all the information. We get them to come 10 minutes to the city. They've spent 6 months working on that project. So I wanted to thank both Cindy and Amy. They are existing committee members and wanted to continue. So I wanted to thank them very much. It's that time of year that we should be recognizing everybody for all that they do, and there's lots of room for volunteerism in this community. So if anybody needs to volunteer, if you don't know where to go, give me a holler. We need an executive session. We're adjourned.